welcome back to Afternoon Literature. So today I wanted to talk about my top 5 favourite book series. These are a series of books that I've been reading over a number of years, and so picking out like my top 5, a little bit difficult, but I've managed to do it and I've managed to do it for you. This is in no particular order, and I'll talk a little bit about each series so that you get an idea about what you might like. The best thing about some of these series is they have ended, which means that there are some books where you'll actually be able to just pick them up and read them the whole way through. So to start with, I'm going to start with the exception to that rule, and that is the series that features Kvothe, written by Patrick Rothfuss, a series I absolutely love that starts with The Name of the Wind. The Name of the Wind is about a young boy who his family were like a travelling troupe, but unfortunately they are killed by people who are not quite human. When this occurs, Kvothe's life changes completely. He decides that he is going to find a way to survive, and his big dream of doing that is to become a student at the university and learn as much as he can so that he can have his revenge, discover who killed his family and get his own back and find a way to change his own fortune and future. It's a wonderful fantasy series that I absolutely love. There are flaws with it, and you can find plenty of reviews that will tell you about them, but I'm just going to tell you a couple of the really great things. Some of the characters in it are incredibly powerful. They are funny, they are hilarious, they're well written. Kvothe, maybe not one of them, but I don't mind his attitude so much. For me, it's things like Tempi, his friend, the friendship and relationship that he builds at university, people like his mentor that become the best characters in there, and that relationship that you get with them. I also really like the character of Devi, who I think is quite funny, and I do appreciate Dana and their relationship. What I also find with Name of the Wind is that I love the way that the magic system is explored. The idea of sympathy, this thing that if you affect one part of something, another part of it must respond, I think is an incredibly well used magic system and well created. Patrick Rothfuss, I think, has managed to do something that's quite fun with the story and kept it quite grounded and rooted in this real coming of age tale at the same time. We do watch Kvothe learn quite a bit about the world and about himself and develop, and that's a really fun way to go about it. I also love that this is a narrative where a story is framed within a story. We start by being introduced to an innkeeper and a chronicler, and the innkeeper is clearly dealing with some issues that are going on in the society around him. Things have happened. There's a reason why the innkeeper is where he is now and how come he is as powerful as he is. And there's also a reason why Chronicle wants his story. But we don't find that out. We are just told about the story. That framing narrative is intriguing because you're always wondering what has led to a certain point, and you kind of know where you're getting there. So you've got this element of foreshadowing that gives you a lot of clues that I find quite fun. I also really love with this the writing. It's very poetic, it's a really lovely style, and so I really enjoyed reading it, and there's lines from it that I will always remember and will always keep with me. On the downside for this series, there is some digressions that feel like they are completely not necessary. Cerulean digression is one of those, and many people will tell you why that did not need to be there. The other downside to this is it's unfinished, and it has been unfinished for a very long time. Would that mean I don't suggest reading it? No way. The first 2 books are fantastic. There are some wonderful characters there. There's some fantastic things for you to get to know, and the first book especially I think is a treat. So I would suggest you read it, but you know, maybe you'll be luckier than me and there's less of a wait for you for when the 3rd book is finally released. Okay, so the second season. Okay, so the second series that I'm really excited to talk about is the Realm of the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. Trying to pick my favourite book in the Realm of the Elderling series is incredibly difficult. This is a series that are made up of mini trilogies. So the first trilogy is the Farseer trilogy. The second trilogy is called the Liveship Traders. Then we get the, I think it's the Dragon Keeper trilogy, and so on. So these are sets of 3 books that are all within this one world, the realm of the Elderlings. And therefore you follow slightly different characters. Now in the Farseer trilogy it's really self-contained, it's a wonderful set of books. The Liveship Traders tend to be quite self-contained too, but you start to see hints where things were mentioned in the Farseer trilogy about the land where the Liveship Traders takes place, and you get to see those connections which become more apparent in later trilogies. The best thing about it, you can read each trilogy as a standalone set. So if they're your favourite characters, if that's what you want to keep reading, go ahead. But to get the full experience, reading all the books is amazing. The bad side of that, well, you know, there's a lot of books to get through and to read. Now, it's not that that's a downside, that's wonderful, and this trilogy is now, this series is now finished. So it's well worth getting to, but it will take a long time. On the plus side, there are some booktubers that have you covered. The Catch Up Book Club, which is run by, or created and run by Becca from Becca in the Books, which I will link her channel down below, is about to start a reread of The Realm of the Elderlings, which is something that I'm definitely going to be taking part in because I planned on rereading Assassin's Apprentice anyway. It has been 25 years since Assassin's Apprentice was first published, and so I have the really pretty illustrated edition that is now here because of that. So this is the 25th anniversary edition, and it's got some gorgeous, absolutely stunning illustrations in it. It's a really beautiful edition, so I got this for Christmas. So I will be rereading starting with that edition, and then I will get to read my other books, and I'm really excited to be rereading along with other people, so I get to hear more about it and hear more of what other people thought. One of the reasons that this is such a favourite thing for me is because when I very first started reading fantasy books, Assassin's Apprentice is one of the first ones I picked up, and so it's the only reason that I really continue to read in the whole run, because it was amazing. So it's really difficult to pick what to actually tell you about the series, but I will tell you a little bit about the very first book, which was Assassin's Apprentice. Now, as I said, you don't have to read the Farseer trilogy if this is something you're interested in, but this is generally where I would start. The Farseer trilogy starts with a main character called Fitz Chivalry Farseer, and he is a bastard child that has been dropped up at the doors of the keep and is a very young age. And unfortunately for him, he can't really be recognised by his father. It causes some massive political upheaval, it causes a lot of problems and issues, but he isn't abandoned or kicked out either. So he gains a place of sorts at court, and that place of sorts you come to discover throughout the novel. And he is trained, now you can kind of guess, as a royal assassin. That's what his place is going to be. But what's brilliant about this is you start to discover more about the world and more about him very slowly as you grow up with him. His relationships are developed over these years. By the end of the trilogy, he's gone from a very young boy who's dropped off at the keep to an old man who has experienced a lot in life and has managed to get through this world. It's a heartbreaking book. There's a lot of loss and tragedy in it. It's a very adult book, but it's also very sweet, very well written, and it deals with a lot of issues. The magic system in here is great. It's really well explained. It's not too fantastical, but there's some wonderful elements in there. So you have the royal magic, which is accepted and wonderful and great, and then you have the wit magic, which is a low base kind of magic, which is essentially the ability to talk to animals, and it's believed if you're talking to animals and communicating with them that you will begin to behave like them, and therefore it's baser and not seen as royal. So that's also a really interesting element to it, which I think is fantastically done. I love to follow along with these books because I love to follow Fitz's journey. The things about travelling are amazing. There's a lot of time spent really developing these characters' lives and what they do every day, and that's fun. But there's also enough plot and political intrigue to really keep you interested, even though it's a slower paced book. I think what Assassin's Apprentice does slightly better than The Name of the Wind is that not only has it created this really great story, it's really focused on having everything in there matter. So as you're reading, every single thing you encounter will make a difference to the novel, and so nothing feels superfluous. What's really good about that is that you can enjoy every aspect of it, but it's a different kind of novel as well. Most of the novels I read, they tend to focus on someone who is a legend. That's not really this. The whole point of the main character is to be in the shadows and be in the background, and so it does allow other people to shine, which I really enjoy. It's one of my favourite books and one of my favourite relationships as well. The Farseer trilogy really does focus on political intrigue and the royal family. That's not your bag. Start of the Live Ship Traders. That is all about pirates and has some incredible main characters, including one main character called Paragon, who you will adore. So you can start with either. I really enjoy this series. The Catch-Up Book Club, as far as I'm aware, they are going to be starting with Assassin's Apprentice, so with the Farseer trilogy, and so if you wanted to read along with other people, this is a great opportunity to do that. Okay, so the third series I want to talk about is unfinished as of yet, but will definitely be finished, and so you have time to catch up and join in the hype with everyone else. That is the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. So this is a set of Middle Eastern inspired novels. It's set in Egypt, but it's set around the time, I think it's of kind of like a French colonization or something of Egypt. I don't really know too much about the history, but what I can say is that political landscape kind of sweeps you up in it, and what's really good about this book is you don't need to know anything to really enjoy it. I liked seeing this other culture in this book because it is very immersed in a completely different religion, a completely different culture, but it doesn't feel like you are being taught this or that it's unusual, which I think is brilliant. One of the things I struggle with sometimes with diversity in books is that it makes it seem like it's so unusual and so out there and diverse, and actually, especially where I live and especially with my family, I come from a very, very diverse background. It's around me all the time, so I find it odd when certain words are, say, italicized, like samosa. I don't understand who doesn't know what a samosa is nowadays, so I don't understand why it's italicized in contemporary novels, and so I appreciated that about this book. It gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit more about a different culture without making it seem weird. This focuses on Nari, who is a thief, and one day when she is essentially pulling a con on a village, well, things go massively awry, and thus starts this giant adventure which features djinn and magic and healers and ancient castle walls and people who will cast spells and people who may destroy others. It's a really fantastic tale that doesn't actually focus on romance and love, which I think is fantastic. It focuses on the politics, on the development of the characters, and on the development of a world where bad things have happened and you're trying to get over a bad history and create somewhere new. And how do you do that? How do you stop people from destroying the world again when all you want to do is have a nice, good future, when all you want to do is help people? The writing in the book is really well done. It's developed especially over the last couple of years, and the third book is due out in 2020. And it's definitely been released because S.A. Chakraborty had wonderful updates on Twitter where you get some sneak peeks, some information, and also we've just seen a picture of her doing proofs. So you will be getting that in 2020, and that will be one series that you are then able to complete in its entirety, and it is a fun, wonderful ride. At this point now, I have read both books. I've reread City of Brass as well, and I've made Wayne read them as well, so I'm really looking forward to probably rereading Kingdom of Copper at some point this year, and then getting to Empire of Gold, which I'm so excited about. Okay, so series number 4 of my top favourite series is one that I have just caught up on a reread of, and that is the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kerri Maniscalco. This is a series that focuses on historical fiction with a twist. So it starts off with the era of Jack the Ripper. The book actually only takes place, I think the whole series takes place in less than a year. You will be surprised, but the pacing works really well. It's incredibly well done, how it keeps bouncing from one book to another without seeming odd that it's only a little bit of a gap in between it. The characters, because of that, you're seeing them developing and getting to know each other at such a quick period of their life, such an intense period as well. But it's also really fun because you get to develop with them and learn. So this features Audrey Rose Wadsworth, a 17-year-old girl who is a forensic science student. Yes, in the Victorian era. Okay, so that might not be that historical, but the idea is that she is a girl who just won't be cowed. She is stepping out, she's speaking up for herself, she's going against society, and she knows that. And what's even worse is she's going against society, doing something that society at the time was also against. So firstly, she's a woman trying to work, trying to discover science and educate herself. She just wants to be free, she just wants to be herself. But she's also, in science that is something that isn't really accepting. The idea of cutting up the dead was not seen as something that was positive, something that was necessary, and so it was incredibly frowned upon. So her uncle, who's already a little bit outcast, makes her an assistant so that he can teach her and get her that interest. And while she's doing that, she then comes across autopsy, the need for autopsies, and one of those is the victim of Jack the Ripper. And this starts her investigation into the Jack the Ripper case, which then develops into investigations into other cases through the course of the novels. Now, each of the novels has a clever play and a clever twist on historical facts, on historical information, which is why it's historical fiction. The idea of who is Jack the Ripper, well, we don't know. So he was never caught. We don't know about him. So twisting and using those facts and information is fantastic. It also features pictures from real places, real historical images and things like that through it. And it's twisted with historical facts, which I think just really adds to this idea that, this is possibly something that could have been true. What this also features is a whole host of amazing secondary characters. Now, if you're looking for something that's all about girl power, that's all about fighting and supporting a new wave of women in science, the idea of women being free and of men being free, and the idea of love being about choice and freedom, well, this is the novel for you, because there are other characters such as Daciana and Liza who are incredible. They are outspoken, they are wonderful, they will not back down, they balance out Audrey Rose in a fantastic way, whether it be with confidence or emotional maturity, or whether it just be that they have this sense of adventure that makes her say, actually, that's okay for her to have that too. The second character to Audrey Rose's development is Thomas Cresswell, who, he's probably the most wonderful man I've ever met in the entirety of literature, and I really, really love their relationship. But what I love more is the constant discussions that they have around the idea of what love should be, and mostly that is choice. You should have the choice to love someone and the choice not to, and that neither of them want to hold each other back by being forceful, but also they are very aware that together they can develop a lot. It's incredibly mature in that way as a novel, even though it's kind of this young adult romance squeamishy thing. Stalking Jack the Ripper series consists of 4 main books and 1 novella. I've just reread the 3 main books and read the novella, and I now get to read the final book in the series, which is Capturing the Devil. I'll just give you a quick overview. Stalking Jack the Ripper features Jack the Ripper hunting Prince Dracula, takes place in Romania. Escaping from Houdini does feature the great Houdini. And then finally, Capturing the Devil, as far as I'm aware, because I'm about to read this, is going to take place in Chicago and potentially has something to do with H.H. Holmes, which sounds amazing. So if you're interested at all in a murder mystery romance style with a very kick-ass female as the main character, then Stalking Jack the Ripper is the series for you. And that leads me to the final series on my list, where we're talking about, yet again, another kick-ass female. That is the Skullduggery Pleasant series by Derek Landy. So this is a long series that I've been reading for a number of years. It's a young adult, quite a young series though. So for me, I didn't really get massively into Harry Potter or anything like this, but still Skullduggery Pleasant kind of grabbed my attention. It takes place in Ireland, which is brilliant because that's not something you see very often. And the main character, Stephanie Kane, or Valkyrie, as she becomes known, is a young girl who discovers that there is a world of magic and mystery and wizards and so on behind her world that's just seen out of the corner of your eye. Her uncle, Gordon Edgley, who was a writer, passes away, and once he's passed away, she discovers that he knew of this world and she gets tied up in it. What ensues is her with her partner, Skullduggery Pleasant, investigating magical mysteries and going around Ireland, essentially saving the world. The characters are funny, the writing is hilarious, there are references to horror movies, there's references to other types of magic. It's a brilliant use of magic system. You have the development of Stephanie or Valkyrie Kane as she grows up over the course of the novels, and you get to take her from this young girl to this young woman, this young lady, who is a really lovely character to get to know. The world with its other characters can be heartbreaking. There have been things in this that have just made me sob and sob. There's also been times in it where I just couldn't stop laughing, and I was really fun, great and fantastic. Now, the initial series is finished. The first, I think it's 8 books, are done and dusted, so you can read the whole original series that I read when I was younger in one go. The next set of the series now, Derek Landy has come back and started writing more, and I believe that is going to be a trilogy. And so I've currently got the newest book in that to read, which is Bedlam. So you do get to see the characters come back at a later point if you want, and that one is finishing, but the original series is finished and it's brilliant. So if you're looking for something fun and fast with witticism, it's not really focused on romance or anything like that, it's more adventure and fun and going forward, then I would suggest this book. If you're looking for something to suggest to a younger reader that's an alternate to Harry Potter, then this is fantastic. And it's just, it's more gothic, more horror based as well, rather than it focusing massively on the fantasy, which I think is a really great alternative and stuff like that if you're just looking for something different, or if you just want to open your mind to more. Okay, so for me, that's it. That is my top 5 favourite series. Will that change other things to rival it? Of course there are some honourable mentions that I'm going to mention here. There is the Spellslinger series by Sebastian de Castell, which I started reading last year and which I'm now on book 3 of, and I adore it. It is finished at present, so there are 5 books in that series that you could read. It's wonderful, it's fast paced, it's so fun, and a really great series to read. And the only reason it's not in my top favourites is because I only read it very recently, and I want to see if it stays with me as long as those other books. The other series that's kind of the opposite of that is Garth Nix's Across the Wall. series, starting with Sabriel, which I read when I was very young and has stayed with me incredibly, and I'm probably on my 4th reread of it, and I've made Wayne read it and talked about it loads. So I don't, when you're picking out series, there's quite a few to pick and stuff like that. I think Sabriel was amazing. It could be a little bit dated now, so I still love it, but I'm not sure if that's nostalgia so much as how wonderful and robust it is. However, along with the Sabriel series, Garfnix also has the Keys to the Kingdom series, which is about a younger series, which is about a young boy who discovers a second kingdom, which is based on the idea of the days of the week and the creation, and it's a lot of mythology and legend and religious legend that is explored there, but in a really fun and adventurous way. Garfnix is an incredible writer and one of my favourite writers ever, so I will always suggest him. So there are a couple of honourable mentions, but in general, they are my 5 series that I picked for you if you are looking for a new series to start in 2020. Okay, that's been everything. If you've read any of these series, please talk to me about them because I adore them so much. So I would love to read some comments from you below. Or if the series that you can suggest that based on my top 5 that you would suggest I now get into and that I now read, preferably finished or close to finishing, because Name of the Wind is really taking it out me waiting this long. Thank you for listening today, and if you want to see more like this, then please remember to subscribe. Bye.